I've had a odd life focusing, mind focusing week. um, and I'll throw it out at you because I think it's important. Um, on Thursday, I discovered that one person who had been in the hospital and sick is, in fact, terminal, and another person who thought they had particular mild disease has 4 weeks to live. Another who had been ill has days left. This is Thursday. Um, and I bring it up not to be morbid, honestly, but to be able to point to an ultimate and transformational truth that this is a temporary state that we are all in. All of you know that. I'm not saying anything that is surprising. But when three of them appear on one day with terminality, you have to look at that. And you have to look at it with a kind of renewed clarity. The hardest part, of course, is when you think you have a treatable disease and discover it's not treatable and you only have weeks left. That's very shocking to the system. But, you know, one of the core tenets of life is its complete unpredictability. And if we've ever been exposed to unpredictability in our life in a very vivid way, we are living in that moment right now. The last 3 months, if you will, have been powerful demonstration that all of our belief systems and all of our plans and all of our sense of unfolding and future are completely blown to the wind. Completely is the wrong word because it's not yet complete. But what is occurring in our lives and in our day-to-day existence is temporary. It may be unpleasant, it may be awful, it may be lovely, it may be momentarily one thing and then another. But the reality is, at some point, and it could be sooner than later, this is over. This whole thing is over. And all of your fixation and drama and fear and hope and all of the stuff that you brought to the table of this extraordinary creation of human existence, gone. And you have to wonder at that moment, I suppose, what was this about? What was this all about? And that's a very big existential question. Not going to try to provide an answer, but I will tell you that all the drama that you're going through right now and you may feel in your life, and all of the upheaval and all of the uncertainty and all of the stuff that seems to be creeping in from the edges or maybe from the core, is temporary because it's going to go whoop, and you may be given a few days, a few weeks, or months, or maybe a year to think about that. And of course, for most people, that's kind of late in the game. What do you do when when the announcement comes that this has always been, has never been otherwise? It is an experience that you're living through. And then finality, and no one is able to truly say what follows, if anything. And you can spend your whole life with a belief system. You can spend your whole life with a practice to try to learn and figure it out. Um, There's so many variables in all of this, but the incredible non-variable is finished, done, kaput. That's really important because it is a way of a lens through which you can view all of this, that it's only for a while. And it is very transitory and very, very much a given to transitional experience. Things change and they change and they change. And you can get so caught up in all of that. And the great reminder, of course, if you can get there, is it's just what is. It's just what is. If you can find the space in yourself that knows what I'm talking about, that isn't a cognitive, oh, yeah, right, but is an absolute aha, you start to live differently. You start to live, and the way that many of our spiritual teachers tell us, in the moment. You start to live with what really is going on. And then that can be partly in your body, it can be in your community, in your family, it can be in the larger world environment. But mostly, if you go deeply, deeply, deeply into this space that is at the core of who you are, it's present tense now. And it's not defined by very much. It may have, at this point in bodily terms, sensation. And if you go deeply enough, that sensation is, I'll call it the hug, the warmth, the embrace. Pretty powerful. Yes, you may go deep inside and find darkness and an abyss. And if you still have a mind left, it's going to go, whoa, whoa, what's that? Why? Why me? What's the abyss? If you have if you have a mind left, yes, it will dialogue with all that, and it will be probably fearful. But if you have learned over time to let go of mind and thought and separation and understanding and analysis and cognitive knowing, and you have just gone into being, and you start to let go of the cognator person that you are, even the darkness and the abyss will not be something that you have to recognize or think about or try to put into perspective. It doesn't have a perspective, it simply is. And if there's no you to relate to that, you will find that you can settle into what is, whether it's dark or light, comforting or discomforting. Whatever it may be, you can settle in. And then what happens as you settle in is the you that is settling starts to waft away or fall away or fly away. And all that's left is what is. This is a practice in the world that's called meditation or sitting still or being with yourself or whatever you want to call it, but it has a kind of uh, awakening to it into a kind of still pointedness that is, in some ways, the core of you. And that core of you is not divided up into you and it. It is the expression of the totality. If it's an expression of the totality, there is no you to worry about what's going to happen next and what's going on in the world and in your body and oh my God, I'm going to die and all of that kind of stuff. What starts to happen instead is the core of you just goes kind of like, yep, okay. It's a strange leap, but it's barely a leap. It's just a arrival, or not even that. It's a this is what is and has always been, always, whatever that may be. But it's not understood because there's nobody left there to know. It's just the world we're in right now is provocatively changeful and changing and dramatic and unsettling, and all of the stuff that goes on in life at different times. And, we've lived, and probably talked about this a lot, we've lived in a culture of somewhat comfort and peace and calmness for the last most of our lives. I'm talking to a specific audience. If you are born in Ghana or Uganda or maybe a million other places, what I'm saying won't hit the same note. But Western culture has been unbelievably calm and centered and blessed, even though we've had problems. That core sense of stillness and comfort that we tend to get in life is being shattered. It seems to be politically shattered, but there is a cosmological force at work in what's going on here. This is massive. It is life altering. It is altering the story of what it means to be human. It doesn't feel that way yet, perhaps. It just feels political, maybe environmental, but it is a big, big transition into a future of who we are. And it is going to be other than what we've known, other than what we've been comfortable with. It's going to be profoundly different. We have a little taste of it with having become phone-centric, computer-centric people in the last decade or two. But this is going further than that, probably. And, AI is a kind of indicator of some of what that may be. Trust me, we are going to be impacted profoundly by that universe. We are going to be profoundly affected by the breakdown of what we call the capitalist system. We are going to be having to face a new idea of what it means to be human, to have best friends who are not human, but are computer generated, to have comfort coming from objects rather than each other. And yet we also need to find, in the middle of all of these transformative, dramatic aspects of change, we have to find that we're still, yep, this, yep. And it may become more important than ever because right now we are on the cusp of something that can distract you in complete ways and have you in a state of, fear and panic and, oh my God, and what's going to happen and all that, and not find your way back to the center that will give you a kind of holding pattern and a comfort zone. But for the moment, because you're hearing this talk and you are part of this system, use it to find your way back to, okay, because no matter what happens in the world, all the transformation we're going to see, it doesn't change two things. You are what you are, and it's temporary. And the part that's temporary will experience all of this stuff, just like cavemen can't even begin to conceive of people on cell phones, whatever that means, or living in a warm house or having air conditioning. No, I mean, that not even comprehensible. But that happened, and human life became increasingly more comfortable. And in some ways, that may still be operating procedure, but it can also be very, very, very disturbing and unsettling. And if that's what happens, you, as people I love, are people who have a skill set that can bring you back to a place of stillness and comfort that you can then, and I talk about this pretty much weekly, share with others. Because your skill set will be of help to others. And the other is, in fact, truly, trust me on this, more important than you. The other is actually more important than you. Hard to buy, hard to believe because we're so self-centric, but the other is why you're here. You are here to serve, to help, to assist, to be part of the larger context. And each of you who is listening to this talk right now, which is a self-selected group, you are here to hear the message. Find your center, find your peace, find the hug, and give it away. Share it. One thing, it will never not be there for you. Two, your presence in the world right now is more important, perhaps, than it ever has been. So if you're sitting here worried about, the politics of the day and the environmental changes that are happening, I get it. We all have our moment with that, but it just means, whoops, stop, dig, go back, center, quiet, and be this force for calmness and, if you will, change. Be that. But it takes the effort, and I know this is a week by week talk. It's a Rudy centerpiece of teaching, which is called Do the Work. Find your way back to a place where your own stability can become the stability of others. Really important. And if you have no other guidepost to doing this or any other sort of directive to do it, I will remind you the way I started this conversation. You're going to die. And you're going to die possibly sooner than you imagine. You go to the hospital to get treated for one thing, and they tell you have 4 weeks left to live. Boom. Then what? What's the preparation for that? First of all, I'll tell you there's one person who got that message is wildly prepared, incredibly prepared. And others, I mean, the preparation is surprising, and the ability to fall into step with that announcement is not as hard as you might think. But for some people, it's like the last thing they want to hear. It's the last thing they're prepared for. There's no availability of directive for how to handling that kind of non-navigable situation. And that's hard. That's really hard. You may or may not be one of the people who holds hands with people like that. Or you may have to hold hands with yourself because there may be no one to hold your hand. We don't know. We just don't know. But I can only tell you that the best way to put everything that's going on right now in this world in perspective is that it's temporary, it's going to change, and you are going to be long gone at some point. Probably, possibly sooner than you imagine, maybe much longer than you imagine. Maybe you're going to have to live through this transformational period longer than you expect or want. That's a problem too, because you're going to watch the familiar, the expected, the stuff that gave you form and meaning in your life go away. You're going to see it go away. How do you find your way back? How do you find your way back? Well, do the work. I love you guys. That's all I can tell you. I really love you. That love is tangible. It's communicable. It actually gets into your system if you sit there and take it in. It's very, very powerful. And you are, I will call it blessed. And I can say the blessing comes through me. I don't feel particularly set apart. I just feel like someone who's done the work and continue to do the work. And I would like to share that. I'd like you all to continue to do it. It's purposeful, but if nothing else, in this transitional period, it's essential. So God bless. I wish you all the best. I love you all. And I'll take questions, I guess, if you if you have them. But this is a time if you have questions to ask, and if you don't, just do the practice. Any? I'm not seeing or hearing, so let me. Oh, Tricia, sorry.
Did you and Blanche walk the contentment lane?
Yeah, we have a number of times this week. Um, it's been absolutely lovely. Uh, I'm having certain bodily issues, so that the present tense moment's starting to be somewhat painful, and so setting out on a journey like that is risky at this moment in time because we don't know that we'll have to have someone run home and get the car and come back and pick us up from Contentment Lane. But so far we've gotten there and back, in fact, even a little further with no problem. And the best thing that's happening with Blanche and I, because it's a completely new experience, and I got to tell you, if you live long enough and have a partner, this is amazing. We're losing our minds and we're losing memory and all this stuff. So it's kind of bizarre. But the other day I realized we're like two 5-year-olds living together. And it is like, oh, it's fun. It's really interesting. You're like little kids. We've been watching the geese. We have all these geese that have been coming, and now they're pairing off and starting to mate and all of that. But we sit on the porch after we get back from Contentment Lane. We sit on the porch on the rocking chairs and watch the geese, and we're like little kids, and happy like little kids, and not we don't have a lot of we don't know the plans. I mean, we kind of try to figure out what dinner will be. But it's like 5-year-olds. You wouldn't think that that's a goal, but I'm telling you, it's incredible. So that's what Contentment Lane has brought us back to our little childhood selves. And I never knew Blanche at 5. So I'm meeting a new person who is unbelievably wonderful. So
Thank you, Bruce.
sure. Anything else? Anyone else? Okay. I can't see all of you. So if there is, speak up, or blessings to you all. And we'll try this again next week if we're all still here.